Hey, welcome to Rust Revival Garage. My name is Tim. Do you need to change the spark plugs? Maybe even the ignition rail in your Jeep, TJ? Well, I do. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so we're going to replace the spark plugs in my Jeep. What I'm going to be using is the Autolite XP985. From all my research, these are basically the best spark plugs that you want to use for your Jeep. Doesn't matter whether you've got the 4-cylinder or the 6. I've got the 4-liter, so I've got 6 of these. It's the same plug that you can use. The other one that people have suggested is the XP5405. And that one is for dissipating heat a little better. So if you have issues where you're running maybe higher octane gas, or if you've got a lot of carbon deposits, anything like that, you might want to run a slightly cooler spark plug. But for the most part, most people agree you really don't need that. So yeah, I would recommend, I'll have a link for this in the description, but I do recommend the XP985. And if I get that wrong, I'll correct it there. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to be putting in. So let's go ahead and take a look at where it is on the engine. Okay, so if you're on the driver's side, you may think that these injectors here might be part of it, but it's not. You're actually going to be on this side where you don't see much of anything going on. There's no distributor, there's no spark plug wires coming up. We just have this ignition coil pretty much covering everything up. So the one thing we need to do is remove this ignition coil first. So there are 4 bolts. All of them are 13 millimeter that are holding this on. There's one here, one right here, one buried right back in here, and the last one is right, see if I can get you in there better. The last one is right back here. Pretty easy to take off. You don't really have to remove any of this to get to it. I just will use an extension to sort of get down in there to reach the ones I can a little more easily. But all of this stuff is pretty much movable, so if it's in your way, you can move it. Just don't pull too hard. This is your heater hose. Just take them out and set them to the side. And they are pretty long bolts, so there's going to be 4 of these. Okay, got the last one out. Now what we're going to do is just pull on this ignition pack. It's a good idea if you can to sort of just ease it all slowly, evenly all at once. Normally you could just move this if you were just going to be replacing the spark plugs and just sort of pull it to the side, but it actually does have a piece, you really can't see it here, there is a switch connected to it on this side that would prevent you from just pulling it out. There's a wire that leads up to it, and I'll show it to you once I unhook that. Got a little light on the situation here, and there, hopefully you can see it a little better. It's got a little red slot on it that you need to move in order to remove that plug. Okay, it's kind of hard to show you, but what you want to do to get it out is just take a flathead screwdriver, and hopefully you can see there's a little red tab on this side, and what you want to do is take the screwdriver and push it out that way. So the really prominent red piece that's on there, you want to push it away, and then that allows you to then unhook from the ignition coil reel. And now that I've got it disconnected, I can just pull this out. And we're good to go. Now again, here's the little clip. It's really hard to show you, but if you look at this clip here, it works the same way. You push this up till the red piece is up out of the way, And you can use a little screwdriver. You just push it up out of the way, and it's got a little lever, just like this one. You push down on that and pull out. So this red clip has to go all the way up. You'll hear this click down. You hear that click? And then that allows you to then pull it apart. It's just kind of hard to show down there. And then here's the new one that I ordered. Nice and bright red. And this is where that clip will plug in. But first, let's take care of these spark plugs. So like I said, the spark plugs are not hard to get to. Right there, there, there. And this one back here is the last one, of course. You do need a 16 mil socket to get them out. So let's go ahead and take those out. There we go. Oh, this one's looking pretty rusty. Oh my gosh. That's a pretty big gap. The gap on a spark plug is supposed to be 0.35. If you're not sure, you can see right up here, spark plugs. Actually, I'm sorry, 0.035 for a gap. Yeah, this is 0.35 right here. And it's got a bit of a gap that's a little too big. But I'm going to go ahead and take out all the other spark plugs, and we'll take a look at all of them. That one seems pretty big too. Wow, it's a wonder this thing ran as well as it did. Okay, I got the spark plugs all out, pretty much all but this one were over gapped. I mean, they were all off. So we'll be able to correct that. I've got the new spark plugs here. I'm missing one. But what you want to do is also check the gap on these before you put them in. When you put them in, make sure you're going all the way in, not hitting it, because when you hit it, you can actually close the gap, and that's just as bad as being too open. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and open these up, check the gap on these, and make sure, and use this kind of gap, or this gap tool. The gap tool that has like a tapered edge, it's like the small circle, those you can end up rubbing it across, and that actually can damage the spark plug. So it's a good idea, if you can, to use something like this just to quickly, easily measure your gap in your spark plugs, if you've got one. Hopefully you can see the difference, that it's in focus enough. But yeah, look at that. Look how much closer this one is than this one. That's crazy. Then what you can actually use is this little piece here to dip it up just a little bit. And then there, we've got a good gap. And then if you go too far, you can also use it to bend it back down. And again, I want to go straight into the hole. I do not want to bang it on the edges. Do not use your socket wrench to start putting it in. If you don't get it threaded just right, and if you start feeling that it's not threading correctly, it should be able to go in with just your fingers. And so yeah, just make sure that you're turning it and that you've got a good thread. Then what you want to do is put your socket back on it, tighten it down. You don't want to go too tight, but you want to get it nice and snug. These are fairly long threads, so don't be surprised if it takes a while to get them in. It takes a while to get them out. All right, that's snug. I will go ahead and put the rest of them in as soon as I can find the other one. And that'll be it for changing these spark plugs. Okay, so I've got all of the new spark plugs in. They are all tightened down, and yeah, now it's just a matter of putting on the ignition rail. All right, let's get our ignition rail back in. Hopefully I don't bend or break anything. Like that. Okay, I've got this plugged back in and the little red tab pushed in. Make sure you hear the click. If you don't plug it up in there and you hear that click and feel it, you may not have a good connection, but I've got mine connected and the red tab is in, so it should be nice and secure. Now I just need to fit this over the spark plugs. The trick is getting them all lined up to go on at once. That one's on, that one's on. And then we just push it down in. And then we've got our bolts to put back in. Make sure they're all covering up a spark plug. And I think we're good. Okay, the rail is back on. Let's give it a test. Starts up pretty well. Oh, that sounds great. Runs nice and smooth now. Definitely an improvement. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Now hopefully we can see some better gas mileage, maybe a better throttle response, but yeah, it was amazing how well it was running with those gaps in those spark plugs. All right, so that's gonna do it. It's running better, I think. I still need to test some things out, but I also need to replace my O2 sensors. So yeah, that's gonna be a project coming up. So subscribe if you can, if you're interested in following along on the stuff I'm doing with this Jeep. And like it if you got anything out of the video, I'd appreciate it. Leave me a comment down below if you have questions or suggestions. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.